Hi, good morning, everyone. Uh, Thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you could please go to the welcome slide. My name is Israel Gallegos Gutierrez. I am the Business Development and Places Manager with Empower. On behalf of the DFW Apprenticeship Accelerator, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the 24 DFW Apprenticeship Accelerator winter webinar. We greatly appreciate everyone for taking their time out of their day to join us this morning. And we are very excited to discuss the importance of apprenticeships and share our pieces with you all. Next slide, please. All right, so just very quickly, here is our agenda for this webinar. After my welcome overview, we will be discussing employer partnership, return on investment and funding, how to get started, and then we will close it off with our what's next portion. Next slide. All right, and before we go any further, we want to ask everyone if you could either please get out your phones and take a few pictures, or you can take some screenshots and tag us on social media. Here are all of the handles for today. We're very active, especially on LinkedIn. So if you could, please post and share. We would love to, comment, like, repost, etc., and interact with you guys on those platforms as well. I'll give you guys a few seconds to just take a look at that. Right. Hopefully everyone got a look at that. All right, next slide. So let me go ahead and introduce the rest of the team. We have Miss Anita Bedford. She is the Director of Experiential Learning in Dallas College. We have Miss Lynn Hoffman, Senior Innovation Manager at Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas. We have Miss Brandy Harrison Trotter, Industry Workforce Development Specialist at Workforce Solutions, North Central Texas. We have Aurora Geis, VP of Strategic Partnerships at New Apprenticeship. We also have John Kusner, Apprenticeship and Training Representative at the Department of Labor. Myself, I already introduced myself, Israel, and then we have Miss Joy Jamerson, Program Manager at Registered Apprenticeships and Healthcare Career Center Advancement Program. So yeah, that is our team. Next slide. All right, and just for a few moments, I would like to take a second to thank and recognize our partners with us today. Just really quickly, I'll go through them and give them a shout out. We have Workforce Solutions of North Central Texas and Tarrant County and Greater Dallas. We have the Dallas Regional Chamber, Coherent Cyber Education, Communities Foundation of Texas, Europe Professional Placement, Dallas College, obviously, HCAP, Pegasus Media Project, New Apprenticeship, STEAM Achievers, and finally, Empower. So big shout out to them. Next slide, please. Okay, and so just to discuss our market challenge real quick, in the US, there's a projected 119% job growth in IT over the next 10 years. There were over 7,900 unique job postings in North Texas alone. In all of Texas, that number is closer to 17,989. 54% of Texas jobs, they do require a certificate, and it just so happens that 45% of Texans meet this criteria. 85% of the jobs and careers in tech and healthcare do require a post-secondary training or a four-year degree. 60% of job seekers do meet those qualifications. So as you can see, the demand is there, the market is there. We just have to, work towards bridging the gap. In an article pulled from last year in the Dallas Business Journal, according to CBRE's Scoring Tech Talent Report, Dallas-Fort Worth area's total tech labor pool increased by 45,170 workers, which is a 28.1% increase in 5 years from 2017 to 2022. Another new report also named the DFW area as a top emerging technology hub in terms of its large talent labor pool, job growth, and affordability as well. And our very own Dallas Regional Chamber reports that in this past year in 2023, there was expected to add over 20,000 new jobs. And this will obviously create opportunities for tech professionals with skills in areas like data analytics, software development, and cybersecurity. And also, according to the 2023 CompTIA Tech Workforce Report, Dallas-Fort Worth has the sixth largest tech workforce at 329,347 workers. We're right behind New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and San Jose and San Francisco. North Texas alone, we had the second most new tech jobs added from 2021 to 2022, with that number being an additional 14,000, which we're right behind New York City at 18,000. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the apprenticeship accelerators, they're basically designed to, number one, make industry associations, employers, and other stakeholders aware of all the opportunities that exist already to meet the industry needs through these registered apprenticeships. Secondly, it allows all the different industries to hear about the return on investment, recruitment, and the retention benefits of these registered apprenticeships from employers who are currently doing apprenticeships. And finally, it helps us connect other employers with partners and resources to meet their industry needs. And today, we just want to welcome you all to the team. We will be hearing from apprenticeship ambassadors, apprenticeship intermediaries, and the Department of Labor. There will be plenty of time to ask questions and discuss ways that you yourself can hire, train, and retain the talent that you gain through these partnerships. Next slide, please. And obviously, needless to say, apprenticeships, they span through hundreds of occupations, careers, and different areas of expertise, as you can see from this visual here. And here to tell us a little bit more about our employer partners is in advanced manufacturing, Bombardier is Brandy Harrison Trotter, who is with Workforce Solutions of North Central Texas. I'll go ahead and let her take it from here.
Thank you, Israel. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brandy Harrison Trotter, and I am with Workforce Solutions for North Central Texas. I serve as the Industry Workforce Development Specialist and also the Apprenticeship Navigator. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the importance of employer partnerships and highlight one of our major partnerships with Bombardier in Red Oak, Texas. Next slide. So our organization is very involved in the apprenticeship space. We have more than 40 active programs in our area, 10 of which our board staff either facilitated the development or expansion of. We see this as a very beneficial tool for employers for both attraction and retention, and also a good way to develop a talent pipeline. So Bombardier specifically, as I mentioned, located in Red Oak, Texas. We started this partnership back in 2019. And Tony Curry, who was the general manager of the Red Oak site, formed an upskilling committee that included Workforce Solutions, our two education partners, TSTC and Navarro College, and also the Red Oak EDC. And his goal was to create jobs for the local community and be able to create that talent for their facility, which manufactures the wing of the Global 7500 jet. Through this partnership, which was also inclusive of DOL, the Aircraft Assembler Registered Apprenticeship Program was established and announced that December. Our board has been awarded 2 Apprenticeship Texas grants through the Texas Workforce Commission, and we have been able to contribute funding to Bombardier's program for their related training instruction to continue to expand that program and offer opportunities for individuals to go through the apprenticeship training. This particular partnership has been showcased at the local, state, and national levels, and it positions Bombardier as a forward-thinking employer committed to talent development through registered apprenticeship. To date, more than 150 apprentices or individuals have gone through this apprenticeship training, and it has been opened up for additional aviation and aerospace manufacturing employers to sponsor seats so that they too can have access to the talent that's going through this great apprenticeship program. And also through one of our grants, we were able to develop a video with Bombardier to use for promotion purposes. Obviously, registered apprenticeship is mutually beneficial for employers and apprentices, workers that are looking to develop a career path. And so now we're going to share that video with you today so that you can hear from Bombardier representatives, the apprentices, and all of the partners that contributed to the development of this program.
One of the stories I do tell, there was a gentleman who used to work in the local detailing shop, and when I left my car in, he asked me, was there any jobs going here? So I gave him an application form, and he's now one of our best employees, right? He was 42 years of age, and he's come through the apprenticeship training program. He gives me high fives every time I walk past him, and the attention to detail and the skills that he has are second to none. Sometimes we can focus a lot on the business side, but I personally take tremendous pride in being able to walk through a factory and see so many faces from the local community that have sincerely given their all, and you know, we're just very, very proud of them.
The idea of apprenticeship goes back to the Middle Ages, and the most famous apprentice was the apprentice to Merlin the magician, right? But it goes back even 3,000 to 4,000 years to the Egyptian Empire. In 1937, federal legislation created the National Apprenticeship System, and it gave the Department of Labor the responsibility of developing and then managing that. And so the Department of Labor now has representatives like myself and other staff out in the field to oversee and further that apprenticeship development. But we partner with the states, all the local workforce boards, community colleges, local high schools that have career technical programs, and then obviously the employers and the business community.
It's being able to listen to employers where they're telling us, look, I just need somebody to do this. It requires an industry recognized credential. And the Registered Apprenticeship Program is the best model because it's an earn while you learn. And our job, especially mine, is to go out there and promote this great training model.
Bombardier Aerospace came to this site, and we saw a tremendous opportunity. We knew that in the local area we had skilled people, but we knew that those people needed to be trained. To do that, we undertook with Texas State Technical College, with the Department of Labor, and also with the support from Workforce Solutions, to put together an apprenticeship training program specifically designed to support the manufacture and assembly of the Global 7500 wing.
The program that we started up has specifically targeted people that live in this area. It's like creating a community workforce.
I came here hoping to get a job just like everybody else.
I was an oil field engineer for 17 years. It's a completely new field for me, so it's very challenging for me.
I didn't know anything about this. It's completely new to me. I came from the military, diesel tech.
I came to this class. I figured just getting to work, getting to do something.
I originally was food service management, and I'm trying to step into the aviation world to do something different.
Hopefully I'm doing well enough to, get a chance.
It's a very, very fast pace. From Aviation 101, you'll go through blueprints and into drilling holes, installing rivets. We move into other forms and other fasteners that actually get installed, and each one has its own process. We have students up as early as 18 years old and as old as in their early 50s. They've all came through this program with one thing, is they're looking for a fresh start. And that's what this program really is about, to be able to get into the aviation industry and work with a world-class builder of aircraft.
I came in as brand new to aviation, so I knew absolutely nothing. So most definitely the class helped me succeed. The teams are great to work with. The leadership is good. You have the freedom to succeed and really move at your own pace.
It's a little scary, but it's kind of fun. It makes you feel like, oh, maybe they are watching. They do know that I somewhat know what I'm doing.
They're definitely a lot different. Lots more people, lots more machinery.
The training, the mentor here that I receive, is awesome. They're very knowledgeable, and it's been good. It's been really good experience for me.
I think I'm getting a lot of good stuff from it. I'm being more prepared. I don't see myself leaving. I'm pretty comfortable here.
From a skills perspective, they're far beyond what we're used to getting. They walk into the shop, they know what they're working on, they know the tools, they know the basic methods and principles they need to go do their job. And they are, I would say, far beyond any trainees we've had ever in the past. It has been a tremendous boost to the shop.
Not everyone learns by the lecture piece, walking into the classroom and sitting down and listening to someone talk. A lot of our learners, if not all, are the hands-on type folks.
The apprenticeship really prepares you for what you're getting into, so you know right from the start what to expect, what you're coming here for.
We're teaching people what our drones are, what our specifications are, our exact needs. We're able to fill them with that education.
And having Workforce Solutions be able to kind of guide us through the process, we wouldn't be where we're at today. So just an absolute true partnership.
Now I'm hired on. You get benefits, Pay time off, you know, if you call in sick, you'll be okay.
Health insurance, life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment, 401k. It's a good feeling to be able to have benefits.
Became direct hire in the middle of August, and it's been great so far. I feel more of a part of the group now, working with everybody else, especially just having time getting to know everybody.
I've learned different fasteners, I've learned different collars, terminology, I've learned how to use different hand tools. It's been a lot, and it's been pretty cool.
Bombardier is a great place to work, and you guys should try it.
This has given them the skill, and the roots are planted here. We know we have a stable workforce, and this is a tremendous benefit for us. So in terms of bottom line, in terms of employee morale, and also in terms of the benefit we get from training and developing people. This is the key secret to our success here in Red Oak, Texas. And Department of Labor, we're here every single week supporting us through the certification program. Workforce Solutions, we're always part of the meetings.
We want to make sure that a company never leaves our state because they can't find the workforce. And so when you have a program such as this allows us to make sure that we have employees in those seats, that we have employers that are satisfied with the workforce that they have. And when we bring that together, we have success in our state.
It's not really a off-the-shelf, type program. So it's really, you tell us what your needs are and we will develop something around those needs.
Whatever you need as an industry partner, we're able to provide.
We have it in healthcare. Registered nurses are going through it, IT, you name it, we'll do it. Right now, we're looking at doing it in the restaurant industry. And it's amazing what people are learning about this great training model that we have.
I don't know why any company wouldn't do it this way if they had the opportunity. To have your folks know everything about your business the minute they walk into the door, I don't even know if you could put a dollar amount on that. It's been tremendous for us.
When we announced the first cohort of 25 people to come into the factory at an all-hands meeting, there was a cheer, right? We invested in the local people, and that payback we can see in not just the apprentices' faces, but in our employees' faces.
Thank you. As you can see, Bombardier has received a great ROI on embarking in this apprenticeship process, and they've actually been very willing to talk to other employers about how they got up and running, even discussing some of their challenges so that employers can know what they're getting into. But we will move on to the next section in which we will be discussing more about the return on investment. So I will turn it over to John.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being a part of our Apprenticeship Accelerator today. We really appreciate your participation. I hope you're gaining some good information, and it's a privilege for me to be able to talk with you all about registered apprenticeship and the Department of Labor's role in facilitating the whole system of apprenticeship. A little bit about the activity of registered apprenticeships in the state of Texas. And these are results, performance results from last year's fiscal year 2023, which ended in October. So these are pretty fresh numbers. Across the board, the Department of Labor's registered apprenticeship numbers supported these numbers of programs and apprentices across the state of Texas. And so in 2023, we served the apprenticeship system in Texas serviced over 27,000 active apprentices in registered apprenticeship programs across the state of Texas. We also in that number of apprentices, there were over 7,300 new apprentices that were newly enrolled just last year during the course of 2023 in the state of Texas in those 27,000 plus programs. And of those new of the participating apprentices in the programs, over 2,200, as you can see, completed their apprenticeship programs in the year 2023. And some of those apprentices, of course, were involved in 2 and 3 or 4 year apprenticeship programs. But those are pretty strong numbers to support the case for activity and growth and expansion of apprenticeship within the state of Texas. Of course, none of that happens without a team of individuals supporting that system. So in addition to the 6 Department of Labor staff that are assigned in Texas to support apprenticeships, you have a team of staff at the state level with Texas Workforce Commission
and the Apprenticeship Texas office. And then you've got, again, another team of experts and apprenticeship navigators at the 28 different workforce boards across the state of Texas. So all of those folks, all of us work together to support the whole system of apprenticeship across Texas. You can see there's over 850 active programs, excuse me, active programs in Texas in 2023. And last year we registered 150 new apprenticeship programs in 2023. And that was a new high watermark. That was a record for Texas. 150 new apprenticeship programs recorded or registered. And each of those programs, many of them have a multitude of employers participating in each individual program with different sponsors of the programs. And some other numbers here, just drill down more specifically on the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We got over 6,800 active apprentices in 2023 here in DFW, and that's the 16 counties that comprise the Metroplex. And we had 200 active programs here in DFW of those 850 in the state of Texas. Next slide, please. So as you can see, there is a strong track record of performance for a registered apprenticeship model and utilizing that. But what we want to talk about more specifically is what's in it for the employer. What is the real benefit the employers are going to see from utilizing this approach and employing the apprenticeship model. And here's some numbers. Of course, apprenticeship has been under the Department of Labor for 87 years. And over the last several decades, multiple studies have been done to capture the data and provide these statistics for you. Those studies show that for every dollar that an employer invests in the apprenticeship program, and that includes putting the program in place, the cost of training, cost of wages. For every dollar that they invest, they're going to see $1.47 return on that investment. And so I don't know about any of you and how your 401ks are looking, but I'm not getting a 47% return on my investments. So that's a pretty strong business case to be made. Some additional statistics here. You can see 90% of apprentices who go through an apprenticeship program remain with their employer after they complete that program. So that's a 90% retention rate for your talent. And I know a number of HR professionals and recruiters. I have seen very few retention programs that can boast a 90% retention rate for talent in an organization. Some additional statistics economically. For every dollar that's invested in apprenticeship programs to support that system by the government, by the workforce system, and through economic development investment, $28 comes back into the economy, right, through spending, through wages, through business operations, and increased production and productivity. So there's again a lot more indirect return as well, and some benefits for employees for the apprentices themselves. Average starting salary of an apprentice who once they complete their program is $80,000 a year. Again, on average, depending on the occupations. Over the course of their career, apprentices will typically see more than $300,000 more in earnings over the course of their career than their peers will see who followed a similar career path but did not go through a registered apprenticeship program. So again, a strong case to be made for return on investment. Next slide, please. So again, to support that engagement of employers and their participation in support of a registered apprenticeship, Department of Labor makes a lot of investment into apprenticeship programs through grants and other sources of funding. Some of the studies that we've done to see the actual return on investment to employers from the American Apprenticeship Initiative grant that was put out over the course of 2018 to 2022 And then a survey of those participating employers was done. 68 of those employers participated in that grant. These are some of the results that they reported, not just on direct return on investment, but additional indirect benefits that they saw. And these are some of the enhancements their organizations realized for their participation. 96% improved company culture, which is pretty strong, a pretty strong number statement for improving their culture. 91% improvement in skilled pipeline of workers, 91% employee loyalty. And that's really where your retention performance, the attraction starts right there, building that bond between the apprentice and the employer and who's making the investment in that individual. And you can see some other areas here: coworker productivity, reduced turnover is a big area, and that goes directly towards retention, right? Talent retention. The less you're spending on a revolving door, the better return you're going to get on those dollars, and the longer term that strategy is going to pay off for you. Process improvements in increases in safety and so forth. I'll point out the 68% reduced downtime. That's a direct result of the quality of training that individuals are receiving through a structured apprenticeship program, and the incorporation of safety into that training process. You get reduced downtime, and you get significantly higher safety rates and lower incidence rates, which again, it can indirectly benefit employers for lower liability costs and all those kinds of related aspects. Next slide, please. And so of those 68 employers who reported back experiencing all those areas of benefit, 99% of those 68 employers, 99% said they saw benefits in at least one of those areas, and 28% of those employers actually said they saw benefits in all 10 of those areas of improvement. And so we asked them, based on the value of that overall benefit and increases in your productivity, these were the areas that were a particularly high note that they saw the most value in. 137% of the value they were receiving, both direct and indirect, was improvement on the pipeline of skilled workers. Right? 132% improvement in their employee loyalty, and again, that goes directly to the value of retention, and as a benefit or a direct result of their participation in a registered apprenticeship. Improved company culture, again, reduced turnover, 114% value in the reduced turnover that they saw. That can be a significant savings for companies, particularly those that are having a lot of trouble filling and keeping filled entry-level opportunities to bring talent into their organization and try to keep that talent on board and not walking out the door. So there's a lot of numbers and a lot of case to be made there for you for employer participation in apprenticeship. I think now we're going to move to talk a little bit about how we want to engage employers and what kinds of employers have participated in the apprenticeship programs. And I will turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Aurora, guys.
Thank you, John. Great overview in terms of how the Department of Labor is continuing to monitor some of the progress that we're making nationally. There are going to be 3 links that Stephen is going to place in the chat, and you're going to be learning a couple of new terms. One is a high intervention intermediary. This is a term that is coined by Ryan Craig, who has recently released a book called Apprenticeship Nation. And I would encourage you all to buy the book and read it. It really is excellent in terms of what is happening in America as we're training talent. The other 2 videos links that he's going to be sending to you, one is related to another term called hire, train, and deploy. And that is a term used for many of these high intervention intermediaries that are here today that basically provide a turnkey solution for you to implement your apprenticeship program. And then you'll see a third video, Ryan Craig talking about the apprenticeship movement in America. And as Stephen tees up the next slide, I'm going to drill down into very specific options that employers have as they're looking to adopt the apprenticeship model. And I'm going to be comparing and contrasting a traditional hire versus an apprentice hire. So all of the stats that John just shared in terms of the building talent within an apprentice is a shift in mindset for many employers. The traditional mindset is you go to market and you hire your talent that is going to come with experience. They're going to come with degrees, certifications, and many competencies. And so in this particular model for a traditional hire, let's just say you bring them in for $65,000. Again, they already have competencies and certifications. Typically, what we have found is many employers will have a budget of about $1,500 toward training. And you also will see something here that's called a 1.4 multiplier. This is very standard in the industry. You heard the employees from Bombardier, they were talking about all their benefits. That's typically 1.4 times that an employer is paying based on the denominator of a salary of $65,000. So an employer is adding another $26,000 in terms of benefits that they are expending for individual talent. On top of that, you will see a typical increase that employers will pay, typically 1 to 3%. In this case, this model, it's 3%. So the total cost of going to market, hiring the traditional talent with the experience is going to be roughly $94,450. However, the shift in the mindset of bringing in the employer to build the talent within so that you can see a change in how you're building your culture and your individuals, you typically would bring in an apprentice at a lower cost. So in this example, $55,000, because you're going to be building their competencies through an occupation through the Department of Labor, an apprenticeship occupation. And in that learning curriculum, which they call the related training instruction, they're also going to achieve certifications that are in demand in the industry. In this model, you'll also see typical tuition training is around $4,000 for the apprenticeship program. And this is based on additional funds that are being leveraged that we'll talk about later that an employer can access through a high intervention intermediary. That are here. And I believe Anita and Lynn and I believe Brandy are also going to talk about that later. In this model, again, you're looking at an increase of $5,000. And this is very important for employers to understand because you are acknowledging and rewarding an apprentice that has no skill to skills that they're obtaining over that one year period of time. So the all-in cost of building the talent within that may not have any experience or degree is roughly $86,000. When you contrast that to a traditional hire, your savings is roughly $8,450, which is basically an ROI of 10%. And again, I just want to reiterate that the retention is high. We have seen that. We've trained over 300 apprentices, and I've been in the apprenticeship industry for now 8 years. And we have actually seen a higher retention rate where the employers are building the talent within, and they're seeing low churn and high retention rates. Above 90%. We have also seen increased productivity because the apprentice has a map of all of the work that they're adding value to, even in the first 30 days as an apprentice. And of course, the employer is seeing many of those in-demand industry certifications that are being obtained. So with that, I will now turn it over to our next section on apprenticeship funding that Lynn and Brandy are going to share additional information with you.
Well, thank you so much, Aurora. We're real excited that you all are here to learn a little bit about funding. and what we're doing with apprenticeship. I think, John, you're going to kick this off a little because on the next slide, we want to talk about all the different ways that we can provide this funding that starts with national and then on a state level and then also on the local level. John, I'm going to push it over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lynn. And so again, as Lynn said, there are a lot of funding avenues that are available to employers who participate in the apprenticeship program and work with their training provider partners. The Department of Labor has made significant investments in that, and I'll go into a little bit of those numbers here in a second. But these are just some specific examples we talked about that at the national level that the Department of Labor has put out there and has made available for apprenticeships. The Apprenticeship Building America grant, which is currently ongoing, Innovative Strategies One Workforce grant, which was H-1B funded, the Good Jobs Challenge, the AAI initiative, which I talked about on the previous slides about the return on investment for those employers that participated, and that's where those numbers came from. $175 million there to 46 grantees and 68 total employers that participated with those 46 grantees. So again, a lot of investment there, and again, additional at every level. There's additional opportunities. So I'll turn it back to Lynn and Randy.
Yeah, John, as you're talking about the grants that are available. Hello, everyone. I'm Anita Bedford. I am the Director of Experiential Learning here at Dallas College and also serve as the Department of Labor Ambassador for Dallas College. I represent Dallas College in that arena too. And, you know, as John was talking about the national department, the DOL funding, you know, it's important to understand that as we're looking at these funding opportunities, that most of the funders are wanting consortiums of partnerships to kind of go after these dollars. They're looking at building an ecosystem for apprenticeships so that we can actually help employer partners embed this into their organizational structures. So as we're looking at these dollars and looking at what is available out there, these are just a handful of what's actually available that we know of, that we've been working with. I know Dallas College ourselves have been a recipient of the Apprenticeships Building America grant. We were awarded $5 million to work with youth. Again, starting earlier, trying to invest and create pipeline for the business organizations as they're using this as another arm to bring in talent. The state also has dollars that we have that are critical to embedding and creating apprenticeship opportunities for organizations to look into that. And as you can see here, you know, we have several different funding grants that help with that. The Critical Skills Initiative, Healthcare Initiative, our Texas Industry Recognized Apprenticeships, Apprenticeships Expanding Texas. Those are some local, regional grants that we have that we are able to actually go out and seek funds for. They're mostly competitive grants and strong proposals. The stronger the proposal is, with the more partners embedded, you know, strengthens the chances for these awards. And we, again, as a Dallas College, have received at least 3 Department of Labor grants over the last 4 years, and equaling over $20 million for us to support employer partners embedding this apprenticeship option into their workspace as another way to accrue talent. And then with that, I'm going to bring on Brandy and Lynn to talk a little bit more about the local workforce solutions and the dollars that they have to help support the apprenticeship initiative.
Thanks, Anita. Yeah, we're really excited that on this call today, we actually have representatives from 3 workforce boards here in North Texas: Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas, Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County, and Workforce Solutions for the North Central Texas area. We are powerful. We are 16 counties here to support and to provide opportunities for employers to connect with talent here in North Texas. So workforce boards generally have funding available under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and we can potentially offset the cost of the training as well as the wages that are paid to these apprentices. There are other opportunities as well. Texas Workforce Commission has funding for current workers under the skills development grants. And funding is available. It's generally based on local availability and eligibility as well. Randy, what else would you like to add?
Not too much. That's perfect. As Lynn mentioned, there are 3 boards here in the DFW. We partner frequently on a variety of initiatives, but in terms of that WIOA funding that she just mentioned, that is something that is available through all 3 workforce boards. Just depends on the employer and participant location as to who you would work with. But specifically with the related training instruction, as I mentioned before, through the Apprenticeship Texas expansion grants that our board is currently administering, we've been able to offset some of those RTI costs for employers with their apprenticeship programs, which allows them to either get started or further expand their efforts. And as Lynn mentioned, the Texas Workforce Commission has a variety of apprenticeship grants that are available for employers and training providers to go after. Everything listed under that state section. You definitely want to visit the Apprenticeship Texas website to find out more information. And another premier program through the Texas Workforce Commission is the Skills Development Fund. And that is for current workers, and it's to help them upskill their skills, and employers work with community colleges to develop those grants and then get that training delivered to their employees. But definitely visit the TWC apprenticeship website, and you can also find out more information about skills development on the TWC website as well.
Yeah, and the great news is we're here to help you. We can help you navigate and complete those application processes, do whatever it is you need. Next slide. I think John's going to tell us a little bit more about funding from the Department of Labor.
You bet. Had to get off mute there. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. You bet. And again, I guess to just as a caveat, I want to make sure we're not wanting to give you the impression that this is a free lunch program, but what we want to do is to let you know that in addition to investments that we want that will need employers to make in this, there is a commitment at every level, the federal, state, and local level, to support apprenticeship and to make as much funding available as possible and to integrate that funding so that we will, when you step into the apprenticeship space, you're working with a team from the very beginning. It is a team of all various partners from state, local level, the college systems, other training providers. It's a team effort. So you are, from the minute you enter the apprenticeship space, you are not alone. But the commitment level, again, to walk you through the commitment level from the DOL perspective, and that trickles down through state and local funding. This is what the Department of Labor has invested over the course of 2023. These are the new grants that were offered and put out for application. State apprenticeship expansion grants. Those are what they call formula grants or formulary grants, where the Department of Labor puts that funding out to the states, and then the state apprenticeship offices or state agencies will utilize that funding and deploy it as they see fit for their particular state. $85 million going out to the states for that. The expansion of apprenticeship programs through industry intermediaries, where we contract with intermediaries who are experts in certain industries. They're experts in the apprenticeship process, and they bring a lot of coaching and guidance and subject matter expertise to employers who want to participate in the apprenticeship programs. $17 million to support contracts for those kinds of industry intermediaries and help along the way. And they bring some additional funding as well. Women in Apprenticeship Initiative and non-traditional occupations, a WANTO initiative for technical assistance grants, $5 million to increase participation of women in apprenticeship and non-traditional occupations, scaling apprenticeship readiness across building trades, $20 million. Since 2014, which was the year that WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, was approved and deployed for implementation, to change and update the workforce system. Since 2014, the Department of Labor in funding the contracts and grants has put $1 billion into the apprenticeship system. That's a significant investment. It just focused specifically on apprenticeship. That doesn't count all the additional funding avenues that we talked about with other WIOA funding, on the job training, skills development, all the different avenues at the national, state, and local level. $1 billion is out there. So again, we're not promising anything is free. There's going to be some investment for employers they're going to have to put in something, but we're going to do everything we can to cover as much of the cost of the training for those apprenticeship programs as possible, to make that commitment by the employers that much more worthwhile. Thank you.
John, that was a great into kind of like the funding portion of what we're doing. I think the main thing that we want you all to remember when it comes to the funding, that there are different ways for us to be able to help support the initiative apprenticeship in your organizations. And that with the intermediaries, which we have several on board with us today, are here to help and assist you with that movement. And you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. And next we have Lynn and Brandy, who are going to talk a little bit more about how we can take all this funding that we just discussed and help braid those dollars together to help support embedding this type of initiative in your organization.
Thanks, Anita. So to everyone's point that you've probably noticed throughout this webinar today, partnerships are key. There's not one organization that can do everything. And particularly the employers do have the responsibility of investing in registered apprenticeship, creating that talent pipeline development opportunity. And of course, there are partners here that are willing to support that. And so we have an example here where funding can be braided to offset the cost of apprenticeship for an employer. So the example is, the tuition for an apprenticeship program is $10,000. Well, based on WIOA, as Lynn has already mentioned, depending on if that individual qualifies for those particular funds, working with your local workforce board will allow you to explore options for individual training accounts that are assigned with individuals that are eligible for WIOA. So potentially up to $4,000 could be contributed based on their eligibility. With the TWC and Department of Labor grants that were presented earlier, there is the opportunity to also receive some funding. As I mentioned, we have provided funding to our employer partners to offset the cost of their RTI. And obviously that just kind of ranges based on what the grant amounts look like and how the workforce boards are able to equally spread that out. So approximately $2,000 could come from that. And so that right there represents a $6,000 discount, for lack of a better word, for employers, taking their cost down to $4,000. And so again, that's just an example. All apprenticeship programs are going to range in cost depending on the type of training, but this is just an idea of how you would be able to braid together the different funding sources from the various partners.
So, and the other example has to do with the wages. So an apprenticeship is a work and earn type of model. So the expectation is you've hired these individuals, they're receiving this training, and then they're demonstrating their ability to do this work for you on the job. And so we've got an example here that shows the wages. And if you look at this, you're paying about $55,000 a year to this entry-level worker. Through our on-the-job training, potentially available through Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, we could cover about 40% of the wages there as well. So once again, you're kind of looking at this 40-60 split throughout this whole process. Again, it's not a free lunch. We expect employers to work with us, to be 100% engaged. These are your workers, your employees, but we're looking for amazing ways to help you develop that talent, not just bring them on board, but then retain them, train them up, and move them to that next level. So next slide. We know you're excited and you want to get started. And we have with us Joy from HCAP. I'm going to let Joy introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what happens next.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us during this accelerator. As stated, my name is Joy Jamerson. I'm the program manager of outreach here at HCAP, which is the Healthcare Career Advancement Program. We are a national labor management organization and a Department of Labor intermediary and apprenticeship ambassador, helping organizations across the U.S. build and expand registered apprenticeships in the healthcare industry. So a lot of information has been given to you, and you're probably wondering, how can we move forward? What are the next steps to helping our organization move in the right direction to building and implementing this apprenticeship program? So first, you can visit apprenticeship.gov, and on that website, it gives you a lot of information on getting started, or you can contact Mr. John Cosner. He is the apprenticeship training representative here in the state, or you can contact a Department of Labor intermediary, which in that case would be someone, an organization like HCAP. Then when you reach out to apprenticeship.gov or contact someone, they will meet with you to develop what we call the apprenticeship program work processes and standards. We will discuss the occupations, we will discuss funding, we will discuss all of the related technical instruction that needs to go with the apprenticeship program. And these meetings will go on until we actually develop the paperwork that's needed to submit to the state for approval. So from there, in the meetings, we're going to be drafting and meeting with you and your team and meeting with you and your leadership to make sure that we are crossing every T and dotting every I. And then once they're developed and submitted to the state, then we're just waiting for the state to approve your apprenticeship program. And once it's approved, then you can start building your, recruiting the apprentices for your program. Another way you can get started is actually signing on to another sponsor's standards. And that's just reaching out to those employer partners or sponsors that's already running registered apprenticeship programs, and you being an employer, a partner with that registered apprenticeship program, and contacting or going on apprenticeship.gov or contacting Mr. John or an intermediary. We can help guide you in those right directions to better serve you on getting started. Next slide, please. And this is just the website of apprenticeship.gov. Like I said, you can build and create your program and look at other or look up other organizations that's already doing registered apprenticeship programs and getting more information on registered apprenticeship. Again, my name is Joy Jamerson, and I hope to hear from you and help you all in the right direction of building your registered apprenticeships. And I'll pass it back over to Ms. Lynn.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joy. And so we've given you a little bit of the what's next. And what's really exciting is we've made this really easy for you. Get your phone, scan that QR code, you complete the employer interest form, and one of our workforce development groups here will reach out to you, help to schedule some one-on-ones, kind of walk you through what it is you're looking for, how we can assist you, and then we will connect you with all of these amazing resources that are available. We want this to be as easy as possible. We've also given you a link here, Department of Labor Apprenticeship Toolkit. In there, you're going to find 4 very simple little pieces of paper that talk about what are the components of apprenticeship. A little bit more about the return on investment. We know that you want to be able to sell this in your organization and take advantage of everything that's available to help offset that cost and get you moving forward. We also have some fact sheets based on the industries and some frequently asked questions from Texas Workforce Commission. So we think those are just some basic tools that'll help get you started, get you some information, but we are here to assist. So please fill out that interest form. We'll be in touch. Couple of other amazing opportunities. In April, we're going to have another webinar similar to this one. We may be meeting in person this year as well, which we've done a couple of years in a row. We want to get to know you. We want to give you access to these resources and tools. We want you to share this information with your network and in your own organizations. So we will be sharing out to you this recording and giving you additional information along the way. We're so glad that you've been here. Israel, I'm going to let you take it home.
All right, thank you, Lynn. So yes, we have now reached the end of our webinar. Once again, I want to thank everyone so much for being a part of this. We appreciate you all giving us your time and an opportunity to talk about the importance of apprenticeships and share our information with you guys. Like Lynn said, please keep a lookout for future events, another virtual one, perhaps in person as well. And a reminder that those that registered, they will be receiving more information and a copy of this recording and the content in case you guys would like to review the deck, along with our contact information in case anyone had any questions. But besides that, once again, thank you so much, and we hope everybody has a great day. Hopefully we get to connect with everyone soon. Thank you.
And I'm wondering, as our host here, do we have the ability to allow folks to ask some questions? I know we had some that might have come into the Q&A. We've tried to answer those real time. But if anyone has any burning questions at this moment, we're happy to address those for you.
Yes, just feel free to raise your hand as an attendee, and I'll allow you to speak if you'd like to.
Lynn, there was one in the chat on how long on average does it take to get an apprenticeship up and running?
Well, Anita, do you want to take that one?
Sure, definitely. Honestly, it takes as long as really it's about the movement of the employer partner and us. You know, the time frame, I can say it can be as short as 2 weeks turnaround if we work diligently to go through the paperwork and get everything settled when it comes to the instruction or the related instruction, which is the teaching portion, and any competencies that we want to gain out of that for the apprenticeship itself. Or it can be up to 4 to 6 months, depending on how detailed we need to be for the type of training that needs to take place. One of the things to remember that as we build out these standards or build out really the work processes for the apprenticeship, we're customizing this to meet your need for the occupation that you want to apprentice. So honestly, I've seen it as short as 2 weeks, and I've seen it as long as 6 months, depending on what needs to be built out. A lot of times we can start with maybe a template that might already exist with the Department of Labor that we can build out and kind of make tweaks to. And then there's sometimes we have to create it from scratch. So it just all depends on what occupation we're trying to apprentice.
A couple of folks have asked, yes, we are planning to provide you with the slide deck and the recording, and then you will have and do have access to the questionnaire and the interest form and also the toolkit.
It was another question that was, what was the time frame you used to measure the 90% retention rate?
Each apprenticeship has a different time frame. So most of the ones that I know that we have from Dallas College perspective, right now we have a healthcare consortium, and we've had that healthcare consortium for 4 years. And most of the apprenticeships are a year long. And so that retention rate for us, the number is based off of that year-long apprenticeship. And on average in that consortium, our retention rate has been 94%. So really it depends on the length of the apprenticeship. They can go from 1 year to 6 years. It just all depends on what the occupation is and what the related instruction needs to be in that and what those competencies need to be in that. But on average for us, it's a year time frame. John, is there something more specific from a state or regional aspect when it comes to the time that you might be able to share?
Yep. Thank you, Anita, and I appreciate that. And so we'll offer this option to employers. We know that retention is a significant concern for employers because they want to, they're going to make this investment in individuals. They want to retain those apprentices. They want to retain that talent in their organization. So everything that Anita and everyone else talked about is true as far as the retention numbers we see, and that's typically measured on a year-over-year time frame from the time the apprentice completes to how long they stay, an additional year or longer. Typically, that's what the 90+% retention rate reflects. But again, depending on the time frame, we also, Department of Labor and within apprenticeship, also understands that employers may want a little bit more commitment on an individual basis as they're making that investment, particularly in those occupations that are longer term. And the apprenticeship is 2, 3, 4 years, right? Often there are a lot of the skilled trades and other more technical occupations require multiple years of apprenticeship, and therefore we want the employer to have enough time to recoup full return on that investment for that 2, 3, 4 year period of time. So in addition to the standard Department of Labor paperwork and other training partner paperwork for the apprenticeship, employers also have the option to establish an agreement with apprentices that they make a written commitment to the employer that as an understanding as they enroll in the apprenticeship that the individual is making a commitment to remain with the employer beyond the completion of the apprenticeship for an equal amount of time. So as a 2-year apprenticeship, the individual is agreeing to remain with the employer for a minimum of 2 years before they begin to look elsewhere or try to move somewhere to advance their career even further. So those kinds of agreements are very common and are totally acceptable under Department of Labor. There's not a DOL specific format or a state specific format. The government, you don't want the government involved in that, directly involved in those conversations, and specifically within the state of Texas, you don't want to cross a line where you're getting into an employment contract area, right? So we don't want to. So you want to talk about that with your HR and legal folks, but certainly that is an acceptable and understandable conversation that employers can have with apprentice candidates to say, hey, we're going to expect, in addition to getting you enrolled here, we're going to expect a commitment from you in writing. If we're funding this apprenticeship for 2, 3, 4 years, we expect you to stay with the organization after completing that training for an additional 2, 3, or 4 years, equal to the length of time of training. So those are things that we can explore. And again, that's a question that we can talk through with you in more detail, because there's obviously a lot of uniqueness for each individual employer, the structure of your organization, the size, the nature of your industry, and the occupations you're training in. There's so many variables, but that's in general, that's an additional angle that employers can utilize.
I'll add one more comment. We have an employer in North Texas. They hired roughly 150 apprentices, and we've seen a 90% retention rate after 1 year, completing the apprenticeship program.
And it is additional angle on that. The part of the cornerstones of the structure of building an apprenticeship is that on-the-job learning the apprentice is going through, and because it's mentored, right? It's guided learning on the job. So the apprentices are required to be mentored by a fully qualified, a journey worker or someone fully qualified, their team leader, supervisor, superintendent, foreman, on up the chain. They're going to interact with a number of individuals to get that mentorship and guidance for not only their particular job, but just general career guidance. How should they look at their career long term? What are the additional things they can do to position themselves to continue to climb and advance through their careers and through that particular organization? And that mentorship engagement is so important. It goes directly to the employee loyalty. The more that the organization is invested in believing in the individual, the stronger the bond between that individual and the organization. They're going to want to stay because that's a culture and an organization they want to be a part of, and they want to build their career within. So that mentorship is a key part of that. And those, in an ideal scenario, as you're building your pipeline of talent and your apprentices are completing their training and becoming journey workers, and then they're advancing to higher levels as team leaders, supervisors, and so forth, they're going to be your mentors for the cohorts that come behind them. So that's really the strength of the thread that binds all of this together is you're building that pipeline and that constant, paying it forward engagement, where those that have already been are reaching back to help those that are coming behind. And so it's a constant evolution. And that's how you change organizational culture and build that loyalty that we talked about.
Well, do we have any other questions? Again, we want to just thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. We look forward to speaking with you soon and sharing more information for you specifically as your organization, addressing whatever hiring needs that you may have. We're here as an accelerator to move things forward here in the North Texas area. And I want to thank everybody, guys. It takes a village, and the team and the partnership that we've got is second to none here in North Texas as well. So anyone else, any questions, comments? We appreciate you. We're wrapping up a little early. We'll give you 20 minutes back to your day. All right. Well, thank you. And we'll be in touch. Fill out those interest forms, and we look forward to seeing you in April.
And I'll stay on for just a moment just to give people opportunity. We put several documents in the chat. If y'all are interested, there's an apprentice ROI. There is an apprenticeship frequently asked questions, apprenticeship fact sheet, and apprenticeship components. So if you'd like to download those, I'll leave this open for a while so you can download those documents.